My name is Leona Hart, 37 years old, senior data architect at a logistics firm in downtown Seattle. For 8 years. I was the one who fixed what no one else could even name, the kind of invisible work that only gets noticed when it stops. I liked it that way. Silence was simpler than applause. But that morning, silence burned. Mara Vance, my manager, leaned back in her chair during the Monday sync, a half smile on her lips. "You're just Plan B," she said, loud enough for the interns to hear. "What should we call you? Backup girl." The room froze. Someone laughed quick, nervous. I felt the heat crawl up my neck, but I didn't answer. Instead, I looked straight at her and thought of an MMA cage, her in the corner, still smirking, waiting for applause that wouldn't come. She mistook my quiet for weakness. At 1 p.m., she called me into her office. HR was already there, pretending to check emails. "Leona, we're restructuring," Mara announced. "Clear your desk by 1:30. Her voice was light, almost bored, like she was ordering lunch. I nodded once, no protest, no drama, just placed my security badge on the desk and said, "The system's yours now." I walked out before she could reply. By 9 that night, the boardroom lights were still on. Across town, I sat on my couch with my laptop open, watching the error alerts roll in authentication failures, missing keys, schema mismatches, each one like a quiet knock on a locked door. Somewhere behind the glass walls of that conference room, I imagined the panic, the whispering, the scramble for solutions that didn't exist, and then the moment that would echo through the building long after midnight, the CEO slamming the table, his voice slicing through the noise. "Where's the backup?" I closed my laptop and let the silence settle around me. They'd just discovered what I already knew: no one can restore what they never understood. And that was how the truth began to surface. Before that day, I had already spent 8 years building the bones of the company no one could see. They called it infrastructure. I called it survival. Every number the executives quoted at investor meetings, every growth curve, every projection ran through code I wrote at 2 a.m. while the city slept. Mara joined the team 3 years ago. Young, ambitious, perfect hair that never wilted under fluorescent light. She had a gift for presentation, for polishing anything dull until it sparkled enough to distract the board. What she didn't have was patience for process. "Leona, these quarterly reports need to look cleaner," she'd say, handing me spreadsheets like they were clay to reshape. "They're already accurate." I'd reply without looking up. "That's not what I said," she'd answer softly. The way people do when they think they're being clever. After every meeting, she'd stroll out with my analysis in hand, basking in the attention. "Mara, your projections were perfect," the CFO once told her. She smiled, thanked him, and didn't even glance my way. I told myself I didn't care. Recognition was noise, but slowly, the noise started drowning everything. The team began skipping validations. Analysts stopped double-checking. Mara set the tone. If it looks right, it is right. By the time the first discrepancies appeared, I had already started keeping my own trail, not out of spite habit. Copies of every report, time-stamped exports, Slack threads where compliance rules were waved off. When Mara replaced my review process with what she called agile trust, I started building my own private server, a place untouched by edits and performance polish. During one Friday check-in, she caught me cross-referencing datasets. "Still doing the long way." "Leona," she teased. "Still doing the right way," I said quietly. Her smile stiffened. "You know, people don't get promoted for being invisible." I almost laughed. Invisible was exactly how I stayed safe. That night, as the office emptied, I looked at the network map glowing on my screen, millions of lines connecting, looping, depending on one another. My fingerprints were everywhere, even if my name wasn't. And that was the problem. The pressure started quietly, like humidity before a storm. Mara called me into her office 2 days before the investor call. Her tone was light, casual, the The way people sound when they know exactly what they're asking, but pretend it's nothing. Leona, I need you to make the Q3 forecast a little friendlier, she said, sliding her tablet across the desk. We're down 6 points on retention. Can you smooth it? Round out the dip, I looked at the chart. The red drop wasn't just data, it was a warning. Those numbers are accurate, I said. Changing them would violate compliance. She smiled like I was a child who hadn't learned diplomacy. We're not lying. We're just adjusting optics. It's what everyone does before a big pitch. I don't. She leaned forward, lowering her voice. You really want to make a scene over decimals? The board expects confidence, not panic. Just give me something clean. I didn't move. The air between us thickened until she sighed. Fine, she said, snatching the tablet back. You're too rigid. It's why you'll never run anything. That last line stung more than I expected. I walked out, steady steps over broken glass. Back at my desk. I opened a blank terminal window. My hands moved faster than thought commands, encryptions, directories, months of private code stitched together into a single schema I named Plan B. It wasn't revenge. It was preservation. A sealed vault of truth, raw numbers, untouched logs. Every audit trail the company would need if someone ever asked what really happened. Just after midnight, the final compile line blinked green. Backup complete. No noise, no fanfare, just a system that refused to lie. I saved the encryption key under a single phrase, integrity stays. The next morning, Mara passed my desk, phone pressed to her ear. Yes, the data's solid, she said to whoever was listening. Leona confirmed it. She caught my eye, gave a small smirk, and kept walking. I opened my notebook and wrote the time. The date, her exact words. Documentation never forgets. By then, Plan B was already alive. By noon, the office was humming louder than usual. People whispered in clusters near the coffee machine, pretending not to glance at me. The air had that strange, heavy calm that always comes before something breaks. Mara appeared in the doorway of my cubicle, flanked by Lisa from HR Clipboard, tight smile, eyes that wouldn't quite meet mine. Leona, Mara said sweetly. Can we have a quick chat in the conference room? I followed. The room smelled like fresh markers and cold coffee. Mara didn't sit. After a review of departmental performance, we've decided to make some adjustments. Adjustments, I repeated. My voice didn't rise, didn't crack. It's part of a broader realignment, Lisa added, her tone rehearsed. This isn't about you personally. Mara crossed her arms. We just need a faster, more agile approach. You're thorough, sometimes to a fault. I met her eyes. You mean careful? She smiled. Call it what you want. You're a great technician. But we need leadership that matches the new direction. The words landed with mechanical precision, clean, impersonal, fatal. Clear your desk by 1 o'clock, she said. IT will deactivate your access by 1:30. Lisa nodded. Already filling out the form. I looked at my badge, at my name printed beneath the company logo. The system's yours now, I said quietly, setting it on the table. Mara blinked. Excuse me. Nothing, I replied, turning toward the door. As I walked out, I heard her whisper to Lisa. She'll thank me one day. Outside my cubicle, coworkers lowered their eyes. I gathered the small pieces of my life, an old mug, a notebook filled with neat rows of timestamps. I slid my hard drive into my bag. The clock hit 1. I stood, took one last look at my monitor, and shut it down. No speeches, no tears, just the sound of a system powering off clean. Absolute, final. By the time they realized what silence could mean, I was already gone. It started less than 4 hours after I walked out. At first, I thought the ping on my private terminal was a false alarm. Then another came, and another system errors stacked like falling dominoes. Pipeline authentication failed. Missing key schema. Forecast model unavailable. I set my mug down and watched the messages scroll. Calm, steady. I had built Plan B to mirror the company's live environment, not to interfere, just to record the truth as it unfolded. Across town, the panic had already begun. The new analyst, Tom, barely 3 weeks into the job, sent a company-wide message. "Hey, is anyone else getting zero data on the revenue dashboard?" Mara replied within minutes. "It's probably a legacy code issue." "It's on it. Legacy." The word she'd used for me more than once. By 5 p.m., the revenue projections had vanished completely. Client dashboards returned blank pages. The executive team's meeting calendar filled with emergency calls. In the IT channel, I could see snippets of the scramble schema mismatch, dependencies missing. "Can someone confirm who had master access to the analytics container?" "We can't. The permissions file is locked under Heart ILL credential." Mara's tone appeared next, clipped and defensive. "Just reboot it. We can't afford a blackout before the investor meeting." One of the senior engineers, Brian, replied, "Reboot what there's no route map." She was the route map. That line stayed on the screen a long time. I sat back, let the quiet fill the room, and took a sip of my tea. It had gone cold. The company had always treated data like decoration, something you rearrange to impress guests. They forgot it was the foundation. And when you pull the architect out from under a building, it doesn't collapse in anger. It collapses because gravity finally gets its say. I closed the terminal, the faint hum of my laptop steady against the silence. Somewhere, in a boardroom full of blinking error screens, they were just beginning to understand what heartbeat they'd cut out. By evening, the company chat looked like a siren wall pings. Red tags, panic spreading in real time. I didn't have to guess what was happening. My private server mirrored their collapse line by line. At 6:30, Mara called an emergency meeting. Someone recorded it. Someone always does. "Okay, everyone calm down," she said, her voice brittle. "We just need to restore the previous version. The CTO." Alan Ung cleared his throat. "Previous version of what exactly?" "The dashboards, the models, whatever Leona was using." Mara snapped. "Just roll it back to last week's build." Alan rubbed his temples. "There is no last week's build. The production environment was tied to her credential set. Her access was deactivated at 1:30. Mara blinked. "Then reactivate it." "We can't. It was a root-level single assignment for security. You signed off on that policy yourself." The silence that followed had weight. Then her voice broke through, sharp with fear. "So you're telling me one person held the whole system together?" Alan's reply was almost a whisper. "No. I'm telling you one person built it so it could hold together." In the recording, a junior engineer tried to speak. "If we can find a clean backup, there are no clean backups." Alan interrupted. "They were partials, time-stamped snapshots. None of them matched the current environment." Mara's tone rose. "Then fix it, patch it, do something." "You can't patch what doesn't exist," he said. "Everything we changed without her verification chain wiped the continuity logs." I paused the playback. The room around me was dark except for the glow of my screen. The words didn't bring satisfaction, just inevitability. At 11:58, another alert flashed: production forecast job failed, dependency missing. Then another pipeline terminated unexpectedly. I closed the laptop and leaned back. The hum of the city outside faded under the quiet. Inside my apartment, they had built an empire on shortcuts and performance slides. And now, in a single night, they'd learned the cost of deleting their only safety net. By midnight, there was nothing left to restore. By morning, the company had stopped pretending it was under control. The inboxes at headquarters were flooded, clients asking for updates, investors demanding numbers that no longer existed. Somewhere around 8:45, a white envelope appeared at the compliance office. It wasn't delivered by mail. No one saw who dropped it off. On the front, in block letters, it read, "For review." Inside were printed folders, screenshots, message logs, and time-stamped reports. The first file was a side-by-side comparison: original churn data versus the clean version Mara had sent to investors. Every adjustment was marked in red. The next set of pages was worse. Slack threads, one from 3 weeks earlier, read Mara Vance. Just merge the data. We'll polish later. Optics matter more than decimals. Another Mara Vance compliance won't check if we label it exploratory. At the bottom of the pile sat a help desk ticket. Highlighted in yellow were the words deprioritized by M. Vance. Attached was my original request to document the system transfer denied. The compliance officer, Dana Morales, called legal within minutes. "We have a problem," she said, voice tight. "This looks internal." The head of legal, Robert Dean, skimmed the documents, expression flattening as he reached the footer on the final page. Small gray text read, Plan B Report V1.00. No author, he asked. None. Dana said, "Just timestamps. They're real." I checked the logs. By 10:30, the files had been scanned, cataloged, and forwarded to the executive team. Alan confirmed the metadata. Every edit traced back to Mara's account. The meeting that followed was closed door. Raised voices leaked into the hallway. Someone knocked over a chair. At 11:15, Mara stormed out, face pale, phone pressed to her ear. "Don't touch anything," she hissed into the receiver. "Just stay quiet." Across town, my terminal glowed softly. Transfer confirmed. It read. The system had done its job, no interference, no breach, just truth. Neatly delivered to the right inbox. Plan B never needed a name. It spoke for itself. By the time the clock struck midnight, the building was still alive, screens glowing, voices echoing through empty halls. I wasn't there, but I could hear the meeting through a recording someone later sent me. Desperation has a distinct sound, sharp and hollow all at once. The CEO, Charles Brenner, started the call with false calm. "Let's keep this constructive," he said. "Investors want clarity. Clients are calling every hour." A voice crackled over speaker. "Our reports are blank." "Charles, what happened to the forecasts we paid for? Mara jumped in before anyone else could." "It's a temporary migration issue," she said, her pitch rising. "We're modernizing the data stack. Some visualizations need syncing stop," Charles said flatly. "Alan, is that true?" Alan hesitated. "It's not a migration issue." Mara turned on him. "Then what is it?" He exhaled, slow and heavy. "We deleted the architect." The silence that followed was thick enough to feel through the recording. Charles leaned forward, meaning Alan's voice dropped. "We terminated the one person who built every live model, every forecast pipeline. She had the only valid credentials. There's no clean backup. We were using her access as the system backbone." Charles's hand hit the table. The sound cracked through the mic. "So you're telling me, in plain English, there is no backup Mara tried to recover. We can rebuild." With what data Alan cut her off, the restored files are corrupted. The logs end at her termination timestamp. An investor's voice cut through the chaos. "You lost everything in 24 hours." No one answered. Charles spoke again, slower this time. "Then find her. Get her back in the building." Someone muttered, "She's not answering." Charles's tone hardened to steel. "Then tell me one thing." He slammed his palm against the desk, every syllable slicing the air. "Where's the backup?" The recording ended there, just the hum of a dying connection, the sound of a company realizing it had erased its own heartbeat. The morning after the midnight meeting, the first alert came through my private terminal, an automated dispatch I'd written months ago and almost forgotten. Integrity trigger activated. Plan B had done what it was built to do. The moment the system detected data tampering beyond approved limits, it sent the original reports, logs, and audit trails straight to the federal compliance portal. No edits, no filters, just the truth, time-stamped and verified. I didn't touch a thing. The code handled every step, quietly, perfectly. By 10 a.m., the news reached me through an old coworker. "They're under investigation," she whispered over the phone. "The regulators already have the files. Your name's not on them, but everyone knows it was you, not me." I said. The system. In the boardroom. Panic turned to damage control. Alan tried to reason with the auditors. Mara tried to blame a corrupted employee export. But the metadata said otherwise. Every falsified number pointed back to her account. By noon, she was escorted out, badge revoked, escorted past the same HR manager who had once smiled through my dismissal. I watched it unfold from my apartment window. The city lights still gray with morning. There was no satisfaction in it, only a quiet correction, like gravity doing its job. Investors began pulling their funds within hours. The acquisition deal collapsed. The press called it a transparency breach. Alan called it an integrity failure. No one called it revenge. That night, I checked the last line of my system log transfer complete. Source verified, Plan B successful. I closed the laptop and let the glow fade. Mara would spend months claiming sabotage, maybe even years trying to rewrite what happened, but the record wouldn't move. It was written in something stronger than anger, truth preserved in its rawest form. The company had gambled on shortcuts and spin. I'd built something slower, steadier, incorruptible, and in the end, that was the only plan that ever worked. 3 weeks later, my apartment looked different. Same walls, same desk. But the air felt lighter. I no longer checked the company chat logs or watched their systems blink red. They had gone silent on their own. Word spread fast in the tech circuit. A quiet story at first, the architect who saved the truth. Then emails began to arrive. Firms from Chicago, Denver, and Austin asked if I could help rebuild what collapsed. Each one described the same problem in different words. Too much polish, not enough backbone. I didn't rush to answer. I read every message carefully, sipping my coffee, weighing the tone between panic and humility. When I finally replied, I kept it short. I build systems that don't lie. My first contract was with a startup trying to fix a failed logistics model. During the kickoff meeting, the new CEO leaned forward and said, "We heard you're the one who made integrity fashionable again." I almost smiled. In quiet moments, I still thought of Mara not with anger, just distance. I imagined her replaying that last day, searching for a version of events where she still had control, but some things can't be rewritten. One afternoon, while cleaning my files, I found the drive I'd kept from the old job. Its label read, Plan B V1.0 verified. I plugged it in, not out of nostalgia, but to see if it still worked. The screen flickered once, then displayed a single line, integrity restored. I sat back, the hum of my laptop steady under my palms. It wasn't triumph. It was closure. Later that week, I incorporated my own consultancy Heart Systems architecture. The first line of the company charter read, "Build it clean, build it true." When I signed the papers, I heard Mara's old voice echo faintly in memory, backup girl. Maybe she was right. I was the backup, the failsafe they never thought they'd need. Because in the end, I wasn't there to break what they built. I was there to restore what mattered.